There is a moment I want you to remember. Maybe it was recent, maybe it was years ago, and life has buried it under so many layers of noise, busyness, and compromise that you can hardly find it anymore. But it is there. I know it is there because you are here and your presence tells me something about you. It was the moment the vision came. Not the plan, not the strategy, not the carefully reasoned list of goals that made sense. The vision, the image or feeling or certainty or fire that showed up somewhere behind your ribs one day and said, "This is what your life could be. This is what is possible. This is what you were made for." Maybe it was a version of your career that made you feel fully alive. Maybe it was a creative work, a book, a business, a project that you knew, in a way you couldn't quite explain, was yours. Maybe it was a life, a relationship, a home, a freedom that you could see so clearly it felt less like a dream and more like a memory of somewhere you had not yet been. You felt it. You know exactly what I am describing. And then, at some point after that moment, the world began talking. The circumstances pushed back. The people around you raised their eyebrows. The timeline stretched longer than you expected. The energy of the beginning thinned into the difficulty of the middle. And the vision, that blazing, certain, "this is mine" vision, began to flicker. Most people let the flicker fade. They keep the memory of the vision without its fire. They carry it like a photograph rather than a flame, something to look at occasionally, to feel wistful about, but no longer something that truly drives them. Today we are going to talk about the other way, about what it means to lock into a vision so completely, so durably, so unbreakably, that the world's resistance cannot extinguish it. That time cannot erode it. That doubt cannot dislodge it. That the gap between where you are and where you are going becomes not a reason to question the vision, but fuel for it. This conversation is about building a vision that cannot be broken, and it begins right now. The nature of a true vision. Before we can talk about making a vision unbreakable, we need to spend a few minutes understanding what a true vision actually is. The word gets used for many different things, and not all of them are the same. And the strategies that protect a genuine vision are only useful if what you are protecting is actually worth protecting. So let me make a few important distinctions. A vision is not a goal. A goal is a destination with coordinates. Lose 20 pounds, earn this salary, publish the book by this date. Goals are essential. They give vision its practical expression, measurable milestones, and operational shape. But a goal, on its own, does not carry you. A vision is the living reality behind the goal. It is not the endpoint. It is the felt experience of that endpoint, the texture of the life you are building, the emotional truth of who you are becoming. The reason the goal matters in the first place. When someone pursues a goal without a vision behind it, the goal can be reached and still feel hollow. You have seen this happen. People who achieve exactly what they set out to achieve stand in the moment of arrival feeling strangely empty because they were pursuing coordinates without being anchored to the meaning of the destination. A true vision carries meaning. It is drenched in meaning. It connects what you are building to who you are, to what matters to you at the deepest level, and to the particular contribution only you can make with the particular life only you are living. A goal asks, "What do I want to achieve?" A vision asks, "Who am I becoming, and what does that person's life look like, feel like, and mean?" Goals are the map. Vision is the reason for the journey. And a person who knows the reason will navigate any map, even one torn, crumpled, or revised beyond recognition. A vision is not a wish. A wish lives in the conditional tense. It says, "I would like this if things were different, if circumstances aligned, if luck arrived, if someone gave me permission, opportunity, or a clearer path." A vision lives in the declarative. It says, "This is where I am going." Not, This is where I hope to go if things work out. This is the direction of my life, and I am moving in it today, in the conditions that actually exist, with the resources I have. The difference between a wish and a vision is not confidence in the outcome. A person with a genuine vision may have enormous uncertainty about whether things will work out exactly as imagined, but they have zero uncertainty about the direction. The direction is decided. The direction is non-negotiable. And that settled quality decisiveness at the level of direction, even in the presence of uncertainty about outcomes, is one of the hallmarks of a real vision. Wishes evaporate under pressure. Visions are forged in it. A vision is not always comfortable. Here is something worth sitting with honestly. Sometimes the visions that show up for us, the ones that arrive with that unmistakable sense of "this is mine," are the ones that scare us the most. Not the modest, incremental improvement kind. The big, slightly embarrassing "who am I to want this" kind. The vision that would require you to become someone significantly different from who you are today. The vision that would require other people to see you differently. The vision that, if you spoke it aloud to the wrong person at the wrong moment, would produce that particular kind of silence that carries judgment. Those visions, the ones that make you electric and terrified at once, are almost always the real ones. Because genuine visions ask something of you, they demand growth. They demand the shedding of smaller identities. They demand that you become, over time, a person you cannot yet fully see from where you currently stand. The comfortable vision, the one that makes sense to everyone, requires no transformation, and involves no risk, is usually not the vision at all. That is usually the compromise. The vision your fear negotiated down to a size that felt survivable. Don't settle for the survivable version. The real thing is worth the discomfort that comes with its size. Your true vision is probably bigger than you have allowed yourself to admit, not arrogantly bigger, genuinely bigger, the size it needs to be to fully use who you are and who you are capable of becoming. Give it its full size. Then, with full awareness of how large it is, decide that you are going to carry it anyway. A vision is a living thing. One final point about the nature of vision that I want to establish before we move on. A true vision is not static. It is not a fixed image you decided on once and are now required to pursue unchanged forever. It evolves, it deepens. As you grow, learn, and encounter the world in new ways and develop new capacities, the vision reveals more of itself. Blurry aspects become clear. Aspects that seem central reveal themselves as peripheral. New dimensions open that you could not have imagined from the starting point. This is not vision changing. This is the vision clarifying. There is a profound difference. Changing your vision because pressure makes it feel too costly, that is abandonment. Allowing your vision to deepen and clarify as you grow into it, that is fidelity. One is retreat. The other is the natural evolution of a living relationship between a person and their deepest calling. Hold your vision firmly. Hold it with open hands, firm enough that resistance cannot take it from you, open enough that growth can reveal more of it. Why visions break and why yours doesn't have to. Let's talk honestly about what breaks visions. If we are going to build something unbreakable, we need to understand the forces acting on it. Pretending they don't exist doesn't protect you. Understanding them clearly does. The first vision breaker. Time with no visible progress. We have discussed this in other conversations, but in the context of vision, it deserves its own attention because vision is particularly vulnerable to the long, invisible phase. In the beginning, when the vision is new, and the energy of a new start is high, time feels like an ally. There is so much to build, so much to learn, so much to do. The future feels close enough to touch. The gap between where you are and where you are going is motivating rather than demoralizing. But as months accumulate without the landmark moments, without evidence that the vision is real, and the direction is right, time begins to feel like a thief. Every passing month seems to widen the distance rather than close it, and the vision, once a fire that made the distance feel irrelevant, begins to look from a distance like a mirage, something that recedes as you approach. The way to protect your vision over time is not to make faster progress. It is to change your relationship with the timeline entirely. Stop measuring the vision against a schedule and start measuring it against a commitment. The question is not when this will happen. The question is, am I still moving in this direction today? If the answer is yes, then time is not the enemy. Time is the medium in which the vision is being built. The second vision breaker: the opinions of people who can't see it. There is a particular kind of damage done to a vision by sustained exposure to people who cannot see it. Actively hostile people, though those exist too. Simply people for whom your particular vision makes no sense, who look at where you are and see no rational path to where you are going. Who love you, perhaps, but translate that love into skepticism, into concern, into the gentle and persistent suggestion that maybe you should be more realistic. The damage is not usually dramatic. It accumulates slowly, like water seeping into small cracks in stone, not breaking anything in a single moment, but gradually, over time, in the persistent cold of repeated exposure, weakening what was once solid. The protection against this is not to become indifferent to everyone around you. It is to become extremely selective about which voices are allowed access to your vision, to understand that your vision is not a democracy. It does not require a vote. It does not need approval before it is allowed to exist. It is yours, and you are under no obligation to hold it up for public inspection before it is ready to speak for itself. Keep the vision close. Share it selectively with people who have earned that access. And when the opinions of those who cannot see it arrive anyway, because they will learn to receive them as information about the limits of their imagination, rather than as a measure of your potential. The third vision breaker: comparison with others who seem closer. In the middle of a long journey toward something real, nothing is more corrosive than the habit of looking sideways, at the person who started later and arrived earlier, at the one whose path seemed smoother, at the one who has, by every visible metric, gone further and faster. Comparison, in this context, does more than produce discouragement. It does structural damage to the vision itself. It pulls your energy away from your path and toward someone else's. It shifts your attention from what you are building to how it compares with what they have built. In that shift, the vision loses some of its coherent forward motion. You begin navigating by someone else's coordinates rather than your own. And your own path, the only path that leads to your specific vision, gets subtly abandoned. The antidote is a radical, deliberate refocus. Not denial of others' progress, not resentment of it. A genuine, warm celebration of it, because another person's success is not evidence that there is less left for you, combined with an immediate, committed return to your own coordinates, your own path, your own specific vision. Comparison is the art of abandoning your map to stare at someone else's. It never helps you get anywhere. It only disorients you from your own route. Put their map down, pick yours back up, and walk. The fourth vision breaker: the seduction of the easier alternative. This one is the most insidious of all. It doesn't arrive as a threat, but as a relief. When the vision is hard, when the work is grinding, the results are slow, the gap feels wide, and energy feels thin, an easier alternative presents itself, something more attainable, more realistic, less demanding, something that requires less transformation, less patience, and less of the particular kind of courage your specific vision requires. And the mind, which has long carried the weight of the real vision, feels the pull of that relief. Maybe this is the smarter path. Maybe this is what I should have wanted all along. Maybe the original vision was too ambitious, and this more manageable thing is just as good. It is almost never as good. It is almost always a negotiated surrender, dressed in the language of wisdom. Not every alternative path is a surrender. Sometimes new information genuinely redirects you, and that is right and healthy. But you know the difference. Somewhere inside you, you know the difference between a genuine pivot and an exhausted retreat, between releasing a vision that was never truly yours and abandoning one that is because it got hard. Trust that knowing. When the easier alternative arrives, looking like relief, sit with it for a full day before deciding. Ask yourself not whether it feels better right now, of course it does, but whether it is actually where you want to be in 10 years, whether the person you are becoming on this path is the person you want to be. In most cases, after a day of honest sitting, the vision asserts itself again. The fire is not gone. It was only waiting for the noise to clear. How to make your vision unbreakable, 7 practices. Now we build. 7 practices for making your vision not just durable, but genuinely, structurally unbreakable. Not as an abstraction, as a daily reality you construct, maintain, and strengthen, one choice at a time. Practice 1. Write the vision in full sensory detail. A vision that exists only as a vague feeling is vulnerable. It can be argued away, reasoned against, and gradually eroded by the slow accumulation of contrary evidence. But a vision that has been made concrete, given language, texture, specificity, and emotional reality through the act of writing, is far harder to dislodge. So write it, not in the language of goals and metrics, but in the language of lived experience. What does the day look like when the vision is real? Not the announcement of it, the ordinary Tuesday of it. What time do you wake up? What do you see from where you are? How does your body feel as you sit down to work? What is the quality of the air in the space you are in? What conversations are you having? What does the end of that day feel like as you move through it? Write it with the detail of a memory rather than the sketch of a dream, because the brain does not distinguish well between a vividly imagined experience and an actual one. A vision written with full sensory specificity begins, with regular rereading, to feel less like a future possibility and more like a familiar reality, something you have been in before, something you know how to find because you have been there in your mind 100 times. Read it regularly, not once, then file it away. Return to it in the mornings before the world crowds in. Return to it on difficult days when the gap feels wide. Return to it not as an exercise, but as an act of keeping the fire lit, of making sure the image remains vivid, felt, and a present reality in your inner life, even when it is not yet a present reality in your outer life. The vision, written in full, is a living document. It is both a description of where you are going and a daily act of arriving. Each reading is a small return to the destination, a reminder of what the work is for when the work itself has temporarily lost its ability to remind you. Practice 2. Build daily non-negotiables that honor the vision. Here is one of the most practical truths about the relationship between a person and their vision. The vision is only as real as the daily choices that demonstrate allegiance to it. A vision you think about but do not act toward is a wish. The gap between vision and wish is closed by one thing: the daily, consistent, non-negotiable action that moves it forward. Not the grand gesture, not the periodic heroic push. The small, quiet, repeated act of showing up for the vision every day, regardless of conditions. So identify 3 daily non-negotiables. Just 3, but make them real, make them specific. Make them the kind of actions your future self, standing in the fully realized vision, would look back on and say, "Those are the days that built this." Those ordinary, unsexy, undramatic choices to do the thing every day, even when nothing confirmed it was working. And then protect those 3 things with ferocity. Not the negotiable kind of ferocity, the kind that evaporates when the schedule gets complicated or energy runs thin, the genuine kind, the kind in which you understand that every day you do the non-negotiables is a day you voted for the vision, and every day you skip them is a day you voted against it. The vote is not dramatic. A single missed day changes almost nothing. But the pattern of the vote, accumulated over months, determines everything. 3 daily actions, maintained consistently over a year, produce an entirely different person than 3 daily actions performed occasionally when conditions are favorable. Vote for the vision every day. Even in the small, quiet, unremarkable ways no one sees but you. Practice 3. Build a vision environment. Your environment is not neutral. Every physical space you inhabit, every visual input you regularly encounter, and every object in your peripheral vision as you move through your day, all of it is quietly shaping the content of your mind and reinforcing some beliefs while undercutting others. Most people pay no conscious attention to this. They accept the visual environment that arrived by default and then wonder why their focus drifts, why their vision feels distant, and why the fire seems to require constant relighting. A person with an unbreakable vision deliberately constructs their environment to support it. Not obsessively, not in a way that turns every surface into a vision board or every interaction into an exercise in self-motivation, but consciously, intentionally, with the awareness that the spaces you inhabit shape the thoughts you have, and those thoughts shape the choices you make. What would it look like to design your primary work environment around your vision? What would it feel like to have the words, images, objects, or references that most powerfully reconnect you to your vision visible in the spaces where you spend the most time? It might be as simple as a single sentence on the wall above your desk, a photograph that captures the feeling of what you are building, an object that reminds you why this matters. One deliberately chosen anchor point that catches your eye every day and says, "This is real. This is where you are going. Come back." Practice 4. Talk to your future self. This practice may sound unusual. Please try it before dismissing it. The future self, the person living in the fully realized vision, is not a stranger. They are you, older, more experienced, shaped by everything that happens between now and then. But recognizably, fundamentally, you. The same values, the same voice, the same essential character, expressed with greater confidence and depth. And that future self has something to tell you that no other source can offer. They have lived through what you are living through now. They know what it felt like to be in this exact uncertain, in-between, not yet place. They know how it turned out, and they know with a clarity you cannot yet access that it was worth it. That the doubt was not the truth. That the gap you are standing in is the necessary distance between who you were and who you were always meant to become. So talk to them, literally, in writing. Ask your future self, what do you know now that I need to know today? What would you tell me about this exact moment if you could reach back? What do you want me to understand about where I am, what I am doing, and what it is building toward? And then write the answer, from their voice, with their knowledge, from the place of arrival, looking back at the passage you are in. What you write will surprise you because it will contain a wisdom already within you, the wisdom of someone who has thought deeply about their vision and journey that needed the perspective of the future to become accessible. You already know more than you think you do. The future self conversation is one of the most reliable ways to access it. Your future self is not a fantasy. They are a forecast, a projection built from the choices you are making right now. And they want you to remember something you sometimes forget. Every step you take today is one they remember with gratitude. The work you are doing now is building the life they are living. Don't stop. Practice 5. Reframe resistance as confirmation. This practice is a perspective shift. Like all genuine perspective shifts, it requires some practice before it becomes natural. But once it becomes natural, It changes everything about how you experience the journey toward your vision. The practice is this. Every time you encounter resistance, when the path gets harder, when doubt grows louder, when someone questions the vision, or when circumstances push back, instead of reading that resistance as a sign that something is wrong, read it as confirmation that something is right. Here is the thinking behind this. A vision that nobody resists, that costs nothing, and that encounters no friction, difficulty, or opposition, that vision was probably not big enough or real enough to matter. Truly significant visions disturb the current order. They require the world to accommodate something new, and the world does not accommodate new things without friction. The friction is the signal. When the path gets hard, ask yourself, would this path be hard if what I was building didn't matter? If there were nothing worth reaching for at the end of it, would the journey cost this much? The resistance is paying you a compliment. It says, this is real, this is significant, this is worth defending. The price of admission to a vision worth having is almost always higher than people expect. And those who pay it, who stay in the resistance rather than retreat, discover that what the resistance was guarding is exactly what they came for. Practice 6. Celebrate direction, not just distance. One of the subtler ways visions break is through the habit of measuring progress only in large increments, celebrating only the milestones, and acknowledging movement only when it is dramatic enough to be undeniable. By that standard, most days are disappointments. Most days on a long journey do not feature dramatic milestones. They offer small, steady, directional progress, a paragraph written, a conversation had, a habit maintained, a temptation to drift resisted. These are nothing. Accumulated over time, they become everything. They are the substance of how visions become realities, not in the landmark moments, but in the thousands of ordinary moments that built the foundation on which the landmarks stand. So practice celebrating direction, not just distance. The act of moving toward the vision today, in whatever size that movement was, is worth acknowledging, not with elaborate ceremony. With a quiet, genuine, private recognition, I move toward what matters today. That is enough. That is, in fact, more than enough. That is the whole game, played correctly. Over time, this practice restructures your relationship with progress. It makes the journey itself a source of satisfaction, rather than arriving the only moment that counts. And a person who finds genuine satisfaction in the direction of their movement is nearly impossible to discourage. Even on the days when the results are invisible, the movement is real, and the movement is enough. Practice 7. Return to the origin. When the vision grows distant, when the daily grind has worn the image's shine, when months have passed without the confirmation you were hoping for, when the fire is low, there is one practice that reliably rekindles it. Return to the origin. Go back to the moment the vision first arrived. Remember not the plan, not the strategy, not the practical infrastructure you built around it. Remember the feeling, the first time you saw it. The electricity of recognizing something unambiguously, unmistakably yours. The way it felt before anyone had a chance to make you doubt it, before the timeline had a chance to make you impatient, before the difficulty had a chance to make you weary. That original feeling is not gone. It lies beneath all the accumulated weight of the journey. And you can find it again, not by pretending the weight isn't there, but by deliberately reaching past it to the thing that was there first. Sit with the origin. Let it speak. Let it remind you not of where you are in the journey, but of why the journey exists at all, why you chose this. What was so undeniably compelling about this particular direction that you were willing to leave the comfortable path and walk toward something you could not yet see clearly? The origin is the living root of the vision. Return to it when the tree feels bare. The root is never dead. It is waiting to be visited, and every visit restores what cannot be restored any other way. Return to the origin as often as you need. There is no shame in going back to the beginning to remember why you started. In fact, the people who sustain great visions are almost always those who know the way back to that original fire and are willing to make the journey whenever the wind tries to blow it out. When the vision becomes your reality, I want to take you somewhere. Not yet to the arrival, but to the moment just before it. The moment that everyone who has sustained a genuine vision and brought it to reality describes in nearly the same way. There is a day often undramatic in itself, often not the day you expected, when something shifts, when the ratio between what you have built and what remains to build tips finally. When you look up from the work and realize that what you are standing in has quietly and gradually, without your full noticing, become something that resembles the vision you held. It rarely matches the explosive cinematic arrival that imagination tends to conjure. It is usually quieter than that, more intimate, more private. A moment when you are alone with your work and you feel not triumph, exactly, though triumph comes but recognition. Something inside you saying, yes, this is what it was always supposed to be. And in that moment you understand something impossible to grasp until you have lived it fully. You understand that the journey, all of it, the invisible phases, the resistance, the doubt, the quiet mornings, and the days that produced nothing visible, was not the price of arrival. It was the arrival. The vision was not waiting at the end. The vision was being lived throughout. The person who arrives is not the person who started. The journey has remade them. What they have arrived at is not merely a goal achieved, but a life claimed, a life deliberately shaped by someone who refused to let the world's noise extinguish a private fire. That transformation of a person, not just of circumstance, is the real vision realized. And here is what that person carries, something nothing can take away. They know. They know in the most unassailable way that they are capable of holding a vision through everything that tries to break it, that they can sustain a commitment even when conditions are unfavorable, that they can find the origin again when the fire goes low, that they are not at the mercy of circumstances, that they are the authors of their own story. That knowledge is not the reward of the journey. It is the deepest part of the journey itself, and it follows the person into everything they do next. Every subsequent vision is carried by someone who has already proven to themselves, in the most personal and non-negotiable way, that unbreakable is not a quality reserved for others. It is something built, something practiced, something available to anyone who decides from this day forward to lock in. We are at the end, and I want to make this closing worth the time you gave me today. You came here with something. Maybe it was a vision you have carried for a long time, grown heavy and dim and in need of tending. Maybe it was the memory of a vision you set down somewhere along the way and aren't sure you have the right to pick up again. Maybe it was something brand new, a fire that has only just started, still tender, still fragile, needing the right conditions to become something lasting. Whatever brought you here, whatever vision lives in you, I want to speak to it directly in these last few minutes. It is real, not because I can see it, not because you have proved it yet, but because you carry it. Because it arrived in you specifically in your particular mind, with your particular history, capacity, and calling, not in someone else's. Visions do not arrive by accident. They arrive because the person who receives them is the one through whom that particular thing is meant to enter the world. That sounds large. It is meant to be, because your vision is large. Maybe not in the way the world measures largeness with visibility, recognition, and scale, but large in the way that matters most. It is exactly the size that uses all of who you are. It asks everything you have. It will require you to go beyond where you are now. And that requirement, reaching for a version of yourself you cannot yet see, is not a burden. It is the whole point. You were not built for a small, safe, fully confirmed life. You know that. That is why the vision keeps returning, no matter how many times circumstances, doubt, or other people's opinions have tried to put it down. It comes back because it belongs to you, because it is not finished with you. So here is what I am asking you to do. Not someday, not when things stabilize, when the timing improves, or when you feel more ready. Now, lock in. Decide with the full weight of your intention, with full awareness of everything it will cost, everything it will ask, and everything it will build in you along the way, that this vision is non-negotiable, that you will write it down tonight in full sensory detail. Please build the 3 daily non-negotiables that honor it, that you will protect its fire from the winds of other people's doubt, your own weary moments, and the seduction of the easier path. An unbreakable vision is not something you are born with. It is something you build decision by decision, day by day, return by return, until the fire is so deeply rooted in you that no wind can extinguish it. Lock in. The world needs what you are building, and you have always had what it takes to build it. This is your life. This is your vision. This is the one chance you have been given to build something from it. Don't let the flame go out. Lock in, stay locked, and build the life that has been waiting since the day the vision first arrived for you to claim.